Hello. Welcome to Bible Guru. Thank you for joining us on our journey through the Bible. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15. See then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Paul tells us to watch our walk. He tells us to understand the days. I think in these days we need understanding. When Paul says not to be unwise but wise, he's saying we should not be non-Sophia, but we should be Sophia. We should not walk as the unwise, but as the wise. If the days were evil in Paul's day, they are more so now. We need to pursue wisdom and knowledge and provide answers to the world, not get so caught up in our own mess of a life that we have nothing to offer but questions. The Proverbs have a lot to say about wisdom. Here's a sampling. Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding. For she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand, and in her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her. Those who hold fast to her will be blessed. By wisdom the Lord laid the foundations of the earth. By understanding he set the heavens in place. By his knowledge the watery depths were divided, and the clouds let drop the dew. So just 3 points from this passage. Number 1, wisdom is a blessing, which brings rich dividends. 2, wisdom extends and enriches your life. And 3, wisdom is creative. It's the wise way we are called to walk. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. Jesus is that kind of wisdom. Paul isn't the only one telling us to watch our walk. During a time of great stress and the judgment of God coming on the people of Israel, Prophet Isaiah said this, People of Zion, who live in Jerusalem, you will weep no more. How gracious he will be when you cry for help. As soon as he hears, he will answer you. Although the Lord gives the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, your teachers will be hidden no more. With your own eyes you will see them. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, This is the way, walk in it. Recent research indicates that we learn more effectively if we have models to follow. Where are the teachers today? James said, Don't be many of you teachers, my brothers, knowing that we bring upon ourselves greater condemnation. Yet we need examples to model our spiritual lives after. And so many of the people that we have thought of as models have proven to be broken. God would call some of us to stand firm and to set a standard for others to follow. We must. One of the standards we have to set is how we make use of time, especially when so many of us are stuck at home. Proverbs also says wisdom is accessible. Proverbs chapter 8 verse 1 says, I love those who love me, and those who seek me find me. I think most of us feel that we don't have the wisdom required to do what is required of us. But we have to ask. We have to seek wisdom. That requires time devoted to seeking what is right. So Paul says, watch your time. Understand the times. All we have is time, and time is short. Moses wrote Psalm 90. He said our lives are like a mist that comes in the morning and then is gone away. A physicist might define time as the direction of the arrow of entropy, a measure of the increase of chaos and the diminution of complex and dense formations of mass. Some would describe time as the progression and direction of cause and effect, but the Bible doesn't describe time that way. For us as humans on this earth, time is the stuff of life. How do we use our time? Around the world, the average amount of sleep is about 7.5 hours. Women sleep about 30 minutes longer than men on average. That's more than 200,000 hours of sleep, about 1/3 of a lifetime. On average, we spend about 8 hours a day working. Of course, that's changed for many of us recently. On average, people spend about 7 to 8 hours a day in front of a screen, TV or net or social media. During regular times, that leaves about 30 minutes to an hour for everything else, including eating, bathing, and other necessary functions. Now, with many of us unable to do our regular jobs or able to work from home, we are filling our free time with still more time in front of screens, rather than filling this gift of available time with investments in those things which are most important. Please think. If you're working 8 hours a day, if you're sleeping 7 or 8 hours a day, if you're spending 8 hours a day in front of a screen, when are you going to pray? When are you going to practice your art? When are you going to exercise? When are you going to work to develop your knowledge and skills so you have something valuable to give to this world? And if not now, when? Most of us are now given a rare and precious gift, more time to do the important things. These things must come at the times that others are sitting doing Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Reddit or WhatsApp or Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever. Or like me, viewing multiple interviews and presentations by doctors and epidemiologists concerning COVID-19. All of us have the same amount of time in the day. Most of us can use that time more productively. The difference between top performers in their field and everyone else comes down to 1.5 to 3 hours a day, each day, invested in developing their skills and knowledge. Most of us have much more than that available to us now. What are you going to do with your time? So when Paul tells us to watch our foolishness, he tells us to understand the Lord's will. The word Paul uses for foolish means lacking the inner perspective, lacking insight that sees cause and effect relationships. Paul seems to be intentionally using words that have to do with seeing in different ways. In many ways, the difference between the foolish and the wise is how they look at themselves and the world. Wisdom is seeing things as they are, not as we want them to be, being brutally honest. The fool makes the mistakes and doesn't recognize them as mistakes, and therefore keeps returning to make the same mistakes again. The wise learn from their mistakes and recognize them. To sum up, Paul says we need to watch how we walk, watch our time, and watch our foolishness. In all this, we must discover God's will for our lives. As Paul said in Romans chapter 12, I urge you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to offer your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, which is your reasonable service of worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. If we are ever to know God's will for our lives, we have to change the way we live, the way we use our time, and the way we view ourselves and the world. Prayer for today. Father, mold me. Not like everyone else in this world. Make me like you. Teach me wisdom in my use of time, in the investment of my life, and in how I look at myself and the world. Teach me to embrace your truth, even when it hurts. Open my heart to change and grow. Then, use me as a force for good in this world. I love you, Lord. Forgive my weaknesses. Make me strong. In the name of your strong and meek Son, Jesus. Amen.